Hi guys, welcome back to my run on Last Epoch. Doing the campaign with the sorcerer for now. Going to become a sword master or something like that. Sword wizard in the next phase. The former president's attorneys say that he cannot secure the $454 million bond in the New York civil fraud case, after being turned down reportedly by roughly 30 different underwriters to cover that enormous, unprecedented judgment. So that means that Attorney General Letitia James could potentially seize his assets just days from now. She said she had kept looking up at 40 Wall Street to put a number on it, figure out how much of that chunk could possibly be covered by that. Here is Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, on the story about this issue last week. Any update on when that money is supposed to be paid? What's the latest? The judgment was absurd. The American people see that. The number is ridiculous. It's never been seen before. We truly stand on the same position that the appellate division needs to step in and decide what's right. Meanwhile, another legal battle is brewing today of huge importance at the Supreme Court. How far can the federal government or the presidential administration go in censoring what we can see or watch on social media? GOP-led states arguing today that the Biden administration had no right during the pandemic to encourage big tech censorship of platforms like Facebook and Twitter, especially with regard to what we were allowed to see and not see about the COVID pandemic, about treatments for the COVID pandemic, and the like. So correspondent David Spahn gives us an afternoon update from outside the Supreme Court this afternoon on a gorgeous day out there. Hi, David.
Hi, Mark. It really is a beautiful day today. Good day, like you said, with high stakes. Despite critics of the practice of the government speaking with social media companies, those critics showed up in big numbers. The justices seem somewhat skeptical about stopping the practice of the federal government speaking with some of these social media companies, alerting them that they think that some of these posts are overall problematic. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said, and I say the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country. The question before the court, though, Martha, did the Biden administration improperly collude, is the allegation, with some of these social media companies to take down some of these posts? We're talking about the largest tech firms in the country to moderate content or fight digital disinformation content that was posted by private parties. Think everyday people on Twitter, Facebook, other big sites. The Biden administration accused and sued for collaborating with these large companies to take down some of these vaccine-related posts. Now, here's a skeptical Justice Alito questioning the government.
The only reason why this is taking place is because the federal government has got Section 230 antitrust in its pocket. It's, to mix my metaphors, and it's got these big plugs available to it. And so it's treating Facebook and these other platforms like they're subordinates.
Big day, and the justices will render a decision by the end of June, early July at the latest.
David, thank you very much. So joining now, Andrew Cherkowski, former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney. Andrew, good to have you here on both of these. And I want to get into this, what's going on at the Supreme Court, but first I want to get your reaction to this news from the Trump team that he cannot come up with the $430+ million. I think it's the largest settlement ever, isn't it?
Well, I would not count Trump out yet. He hasn't reached yet to actually have this money secured in order to file the appeal. He's now seeking the court's approval to effectively take either $100 million in bond or to forgive the bond entirely at this point to allow the appeal to proceed. That's the next step, is he wants to appeal this. But even if the court doesn't allow that, and James actually does try to foreclose on some of his properties, I think he still has paths to move forward to federal court, ultimately to the Supreme Court, to complain about Eighth Amendment violations. The fine being so astronomically high here that it seems unbelievable for the Constitution to permit it under the circumstances.
I mean, it seems unjust that if you could be forced to sell properties before you get the opportunity, especially given the enormous size of this unprecedented administration?
It does seem very unusual to have to essentially disgorge yourself of everything that you're still fighting for through the appellate channel. The problem is that people who do that try to use the court system to just delay their payment of whatever fine they had gotten if they lose the appeal. But here, Trump has the asset for different forms. They're not in a form that the bond companies, he said, 30 different bond companies that just won't protect that money based on it being property as opposed to being held in cash. So I think that these are very unique circumstances. I hope that the New York Court of Appeals looks at it appropriately. But like I said, I think even the Supreme Court would have interest in this case.
Okay, and your quick thoughts on that, what happened in the Supreme Court today, and what we've heard from the justices, how does this feel based on what we just got today?
Well, the Biden administration continues to promote that and they're allowed to pressure these platforms to de-platform individuals. And they say that they can go so far as to do that unless they coerce these private companies. I think that that's a rough day for
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, guys, put this Facebook email up from July 14, 2021, released by the House Judiciary. This is during the pandemic. Glenn, can someone quickly remind me why we are removing rather than demoting labeling claims that COVID is man-made before May? Meta employee, because we're under pressure from the administration and others to do more, and it was part of the more package. Just a quick thought, look back at that time period, and really, a lot of what was removed turned out to be correct.
Yes, that's right. The pressure they were putting on these platforms was that people would die of COVID if they didn't deplatform. So you talk about coercion. I think that arguably gets to that point, but the justices didn't seem to be receptive.
Yeah. Coercion is the word that they're going to have to determine in this case with regard to the First Amendment. Some interesting things coming out of the Supreme Court. So thank you. All I'm going to say, thanks for coming to it. So good, they lined up ahead. Texas Congressman Pat Fallon, Clay Travis, and Mr. Warren Leary, live from New York. Veteran homeowners, need cash, but worried you can't get a home loan because of your credit? Here's great news. At New Day, we've been granted automatic authority by the VA to make our own loan approval decisions. In fact, if you have credit challenges and miss a payment along the way, you're more than 5 times more likely to get approved with a New Day 100 VA cash out loan. No one knows veterans like New Day USA.
Call 800-4070.
Everybody talks about how hard to get older. And I'm not saying it's easy.
Once I decided to keep his movements,
I know it seems like this world's getting more
stronghold
so it's all the more important.
Oh shit.
just
And
as
our own
I
hearts.
predicted.
What I do is I pray, and then I take balance in nature. Because it's so simple. 3 capsules of the fruits and 3 capsules of the veggies. And I'm done for the day. I've been taking it now for 2 years, and I can't tell you the difference it's made in my life. Take control of your health. Take control of your life. Start with balance of nature. Give it a shot. You will be sad. Start your journey with balance of nature supplements. Get 35% off plus $10 off any additional steps with your first order as a preferred customer. By using discount code BOOM.
The 1878 to 1921 Morgan Silver Bell, a true American classic and one of the most iconic silver bell coins in history. It has been over 100 years since the last Morgan Silver Bell coin was struck for circulation. But now, for a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government struck Morgan dollars are being released to the public. That's right, you can own a full pound of 1878 to 1921 classic American Morgan Silver Bell coins.
Ancient stonework that can inspire even the greatest of
Call
celebrities.
1-800-333-2210 to secure collector-grade U.S. Morgan silver dollars by the pound struck during the Wild West and the Gilded Age. Plus receive a bonus
Just as I predicted.
valued at over $25 free with every order. Call 1-800-333-2210 now to secure your full pound bag of Morgan silver dollar coins before they are gone. 1-800-333-2210. That's 1-800-333-2210. Danger signs for deaths. Why uncommitted motives are just the beginning. And problems the party could be facing next. Not to be heard in break it down today.
Okay. Take care, buddy.
Shares.
Whoa! Better than you this.
Every time I was making the stuff together. When I found out about booking, I was so excited. Oh, I was someone saying, I'm not. I'm not. 14 years. No way about that.
Look here. It'll be safe. We reconvene outside. Rex and Hogan have reinforced our wall, supplied our men, and taken out dozens of them. Yet, they're still here, using brute force. The howling monster
Hours from
circling
now,
over.
a Texas law could take effect,
So,
allowing police
see
to
you like
arrest
keepers.
people who cross their border
Take the way
illegally.
they sent you.
The Justice Department is
Lovely. Well,
challenging
your
this
help has
measure. The
been
Supreme
appreciated.
Court
I
could
have
extend
everything under
a
control.
pause
What do you
on the
mean?
measure,
I'm
which
protecting
will
the
allow them to
Epoch,
arrest
of course.
people. That expires
It's
today,
a fortress.
or they
Meant to
may
keep
decide
unruly
that they
treasure
will let
hunters from locating the
Texas
shards of the
enforce
Epoch.
their own law as before.
Or at
While
least
the
it's
legal
supposed
battle
to.
over this issue,
Just
the
a
states'
thought.
right versus federal rights issue,
You don't know what to
continues.
tell
Watch
you.
this exchange.
Well, tell you what. Let's get out of here
Okay.
first, and
With
then
that,
I'll
we bring in
explain
Texas
more.
Republican Congressman
These
Pat Fallon, who is
beefsteaks
on the
are hardly
Oversight
worth it if you
and
don't
Armed
know
Services
why your
Committee.
life is
Congressman,
after.
good to have you here. Thank you very much for being here. Any thoughts on what you think will happen in the Supreme Court and whether Texas will be allowed to arrest people who cross the border, which obviously would be a big game changer in all of this?
Well, I certainly hope that law will be enough because it's really reasonable considering I believe we are under an invasion of the Constitution, specifically allow states to protect themselves against invasion. Take, for instance, from 2011 to 2022. So over the 13-year period, just in Texas, there have been almost 500,000 criminal aliens arrested and convicted of 187,000 crimes. Murder, rape, arson, kidnapping, really, these are felonies. And so I think Texas has an inherent right and duty to protect their citizens. I served in the Texas legislature for a year, so I do hope the Supreme Court sees it the way we do.
This is a piece of the interview that NBC did with Laken Riley's father. And they asked if the immigration policy may have made a difference in what happened to her. Watch this. Do you think a difference in immigration policy would have made a difference for Laken?
We both have no idea if that would have changed anything, but he's here illegally. That he might not have been here. Had we had secure borders, she's doing a new assignment politically to me. She was much better than she should be raised up for the person that she is.
Well, our heart goes out to Laken's family because this, I don't think it ever should happen. And to be very general about this answer, Martha, there were, under past two administrations, Obama and Trump, about 1.7 billion illegal crossings in the first 3 years of the presidency. Under Joe Biden, it was over 8 billion. So that's an increase of 500% increase. And unfortunately, when you have that kind of a flood, we don't know who these people are. There is a criminal element, albeit maybe just a few percentage points, but you're talking tens of thousands of people. So I think we're clearly safer as citizens if we have a secure border. And by the way, if you're not safe, then you're not free. So this is about freedom as well.
100%. Congressman, thank you. Congressman Pat Fallon, thank you for being here today. Good to see you.
You are. God bless.
So let's check in with White House correspondent Peter Ducey, who just asked National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan about the president's phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Hi, Peter.
And Martha, we were told the call was business-like. It did not end abruptly. It ended after Netanyahu and President Biden made both of their points. And apparently the point that President Biden wants to make is
that he does not think Netanyahu can go into Rafah to eradicate Hamas without having a legitimate humanitarian plan in place. But it has been a long time since Biden and Netanyahu talked. In fact, they haven't spoken on the phone since February 15th. Why did President Biden wait so long? 32 days to pass between both calls.
Well, sir, first of all, our teams are in contact every single day at every level. President Biden gets a daily, twice daily, sometimes 9 times daily update on what is going on, and he reserves his calls for the Prime Minister for when he believes there's a key strategic priorities to happen. That's point one. Point two, the Prime Minister, of course, knows how to reach President Biden. If the Prime Minister felt he needed the President for some reason, he would have picked up the phone and called him. Of course, in the last 32 days, President Biden has never replied to a phone call from Prime Minister Netanyahu. This is pretty much the normal give and take of two leaders, both operating their governments, both operating with different policies, both working with their teams. And then at a key inflection point in the dialogue between the two sides coming together and talking a little bit.
Jim Sullivan was also asked if Netanyahu brought up those comments from Chuck Schumer on the floor of the Senate calling for new elections, calling to remove Netanyahu from power in Israel. Sullivan didn't say specifically that that came up, but it did mention that Netanyahu brought up things that have been in the American press lately.
Well, yeah, Peter, thank you very much, Peter Ducey, at the White House. Coming up, our program on former President Trump's WhatsApp comments and the media spin on what he was talking about that is now lighting up his base.
He's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday show. It was talking about the offer this way, and this is one more. It's just.
Frustrated by skin tags? Dr. Schultz has the breakthrough you've been waiting for. The first FDA-cleared at-home skin tag remover that can prove skin tag safely in as well as one treatment.
It's time for news about the news. Same news programming you love, starting at $40 a month. It's the same news programming you love, starting at $40 a month. That's what I just said. Right. It's the same news to less, starting at $40 a month. You can expect it, Christian. It's fancy display space. It will comfort for everyone. But we still love unexpected.
Let me ask, for how long must we live like this? No one cared about the shards until
During the Jeep
recently.
celebration event at the 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee, starting at $38,290 MSRP, visit Jeep.com for details.
Meet the Jennifers. Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. Each planning their future with a Chase mobile app. Gen X is planning a summer in somehow from JP Morgan Wonderland. It's got whiskers. Gen Y is working with a banker to defer her birthday. You only turned 30 months. And Gen Z, credit loan and hello, beautiful partner. 3 Gens getting ahead with Chase. Solutions on with you. One bank for now, for later, for life. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Dave Schwartz is known as the founder of Barstool Sports and is known for his sharp commentary and down-to-earth one-bite pizza reviews. Dave created the Barstool Fund during COVID and raised $50 million to help small businesses stay afloat. Exactly just that. Part of that.
It means a lot to the Thomas House Foundation taking the time to help us.
It's a cause of our audience. But it really doesn't matter what your politics are. The military is people who serve the country, and they need help.
These great heroes, they're willing to risk it all for us. And all first responders that go out every single day saving our kids to kiss goodbye.
Our slumbering mother, Eterra, alone. How can they claim a greater connection to Eterra than us? We're the servants of Rome, the inheritors of the domain.
Would not happen. People would risk their lives for this country. That's what's
You know, we asked for $11 a month. It's just 1.5 and you know, here and
what worked with the Barstool Fund? They knew they were getting us money, and the money
going to Britain. 95.1% of every dollar that is raised goes to Great Britain.
Yeah, and that's a huge part. I did all the research on that. Check out all that stuff. I'm sure I know that right now. We'll be the only honest guy there.
I only hear what your rate for Hamilton House on
Right, which is always high pressure. Our next guys. But we'll give it 10.
I am not a man of many pockets.
So let's do it together.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month by going to t2t.org or calling 1-844-BRACE.
All right, so one reaction keeps coming in over this issue today. Former President Trump using the word bloodbath at a campaign rally in Ohio over the weekend. He says he was talking about what will happen to the American car makers if he loses the election. Watch this.
Every single car that comes across the line, you're not going to be able to sell those. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the list of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the list of it. But they're not going to sell those cars.
So here's just a sampling of how that is going over in the media. Watch.
He's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here.
It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath. Sometimes a bloodbath is a bloodbath.
We have seen January 6th. We've seen that he put an insurrection. So no, we're not taking it out of context because the context is his history and his life.
Okay, with that, we bring in Carl Lowe, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff for President George W. Bush, and a Fox News contributor, Media Buzz host Howie Kurtz, who aired his interview with former President Trump over the weekend, and nationally syndicated radio host Hugh Hewitt, who's interviewed the former president many times. Good to have all of you with us. Thank you very much for joining us today. One thing I want to get your reaction to this controversy today. Carl, let me start with you.
Over the top and the reason why people hate the media. It is clear, you read a transcript of it, and his reference to the bloodbath is when he talks about Chinese electric vehicles being made in China or made in Mexico and imported into the United States. And that's the context. And that gets dropped out. There are other things that he says that the media could have gone after. He refers to people who were in jail over January 6th as hostages, people who beat up the police. He says in a completely different context, not sure that if he doesn't get elected, he'll never have another election. Those are legitimate things to ask him about, but instead they pick the thing in the speech that sounds, if you take the word bloodbath, it out of context makes it sound terrible, when he's talking very specifically about what will happen to American manufacturing, and the auto industry specifically, if he doesn't get elected. So, over the top, and as a result, undermines the confidence of the American public in the media.
Howie, what's your take?
This bloodbath coverage is a outrage and totally wrenched out of context. As you showed, talking about jobs before and after. Now, there's been other times when Trump has signaled the possibility of political violence. This is not one of them. You know, interesting, in my Mar-a-Lago interview with the former president, I asked him about using words like vermin and poisoning of the blood and why he does that in describing the and he acknowledged to me that he does that over-top language, inflammatory language, in order to drive media coverage. That's quite an admission, given the echoes of Nazi Germany, but instead he does it because he wants people on his turf debating his issues, and if he uses what he calls politically correct language, it doesn't really resonate.
Your reaction to this bloodbath issue?
Well, I spent 3 hours this morning, Martha, doing nothing but the story of bloodbath and how he's interviewed. Because the former president is a rating draw and people want to talk about it. Raul is being generous in calling it overtop. It's a lie to actually suggest that the former president was calling for physical violence. He wasn't. And I'm glad you played both the beginning and the end of that, because it's clearly, I mean, there's any doubt here. There would be no doubt in the objective reading and studying about what would happen to the automobiles in America if the Chinese funded and
Hugh, staying with you for a moment, though, when you listen to Jim Scarborough, he's saying that you are wrong. He's saying, clearly there's an inference in there that larger than just the auto industry, and if you don't get it, you're just a cute little idiot. That's what he said, Cameron.
I'm not going to call Jim stupid like he's calling all of us stupid on this panel. Because I used to go on Jim's show back when he was in love with Trump, and Trump would call him, and they would both be up on it. So Joe has changed over time as ways and harder to change. But this morning was laughable. Joe knows it. He's got a rating to deliver.
He's the one leading the
It's interesting, Howie, because what the former president said to you, I do believe that he's a politician and fired that businessman who believes there's no such thing as bad publicity. And so if you drop certain words into the ether, you're going to get talked about. The Ricky Hewitt spent 3 hours talking about this morning. And here's a soundbite on the issue of the enemy of the people phrase that he had to use from your interview, Howie.
Stay safe. Stay alive.
They really don't like that. People, I would be honored to do that if they would do it right. They're like the policemen, they're like the police. And frankly, they keep our country honest in a certain way if they do their job properly. And they haven't been doing it properly.
How are your thoughts on that exchange?
Well, I sense that he might be open to some kind of ceasefire because he's using fake news a lot less. And he almost went all the way, but then he said, but they're not doing it properly, so there's no ceasefire as of now. Just a quick thought on the coverage of this interview with Mar-a-Lago, which is that, for example, I got the former president to say that Vladimir Putin never even mentioned Alexei Navalny's prison murder, probably was responsible. And he was on that. Trump couldn't bring himself to condemn Alexei Navalny's death. Trump delivers head-spinningly awkward answer to your question about Putin. And he did say, I don't know. He can't prove it. I can't prove it. This would not happen without Putin. I'm listening to this, but it just shows you that a lot of people put their anti-Trump bias to say, well, when it comes to these interviews, I try to be straight down the middle and give him a chance to say what he wants to say.
Absolutely. It was a very interesting interview. Carl, another thing that came up in the interview I thought was kind of interesting. He was asked about Nikki Haley and said, she has a talent. And everybody's wondering about the VP picks for all of the candidates who are still in the running here. Where do you think that whole story's going?
Well, I find it hard to believe that it's going to be as big and strong-minded as Ronald Reagan was through the full primary process. This is but it was a good remark for him to make, and he should have frankly made it the night that he beat her in South Carolina. When he was in Iowa, he was humble, he was gracious, and complimentary of his opponents. We didn't see that in New Hampshire for certain. The moment for him to begin uniting the party was in South Carolina. So nice of him to say it now, which he had said it earlier.
Hugh, you have put out a short list of people you think are potential VP. What do you think about that comment? Do you give it any significance?
Maybe we'll pick Nikki Haley. That follows you up at the end. I think Carlos Park at the end got the same kind of reaction in 1980. I like Senator Common Ernst Mike Pompeo. Someone not designed to pick up a state or an ethnicity or a particular demographic, but someone designed to attack every day on message about the border, about crime, about inflation, about keeping it costs. I'm looking for someone who can stay on message for me.
All right, quick 30 seconds, Howie, on this Biden story about his rants in the West Wing. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the president is frustrated by the coverage and his campaign is a business of polling numbers and the fact that Trump seems to be beating him, but he wants to all the time to go and all that. I certainly don't think Biden has gotten great coverage on the age issue. People, a lot of Democrats having doubts about him. So it just shows you that we've managed to take up both sides.
Yeah.
Which is the job of the president.
Exactly. It also might show you that he has some fight in him, and maybe that was the point of the stories as well. So we'll see. What a great panel. I hope you all come back soon. Hugh, you and Howie, good to see you. It was great to have you with us as well. Great interviews over the weekend. Thank you, Howie. Thanks, Howie. All right. Well, Kevin defined behind-the-scenes frustration, which we just touched on, reportedly boiling over as his approval lags behind former one-term presidents who lost their re-election bid. So those are troublesome numbers. We're going to show them to you in a moment, and we will dig deeper into that story, part 2, with Clay Travis and Mark Peck. Join us.
Did you know there's a silver shortage? Former Wall Street analyst John Rubino predicts the silver shortage could cause an imminent price spike. Listen to this.
So the silver shortage will be predicted finally here. Solar and electric cars are using all the metal that's out there in medicine. And that's going to spike the silver price.
I used to own just gold. Now I also own silver. Why should you consider silver? I have the silver shortage report, and my trusted friends at Lear Capital will send it to you for free. Here's who I trust whenever I buy silver. Get your free silver shortage report and see why experts believe silver prices are set to soar. Lear Capital, over 25 years of business, thousands of 5-star reviews, and a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. When you call, you can get up to $15,000 in bonus silver. Call 800-654-1010. 800-654-1010.
Modern windows seem to be a typical choice here in the local area. Some companies even advertise high-quality buying. And over here, before we invest in buying windows, listen to what Anderson has to say.
With our temperature system, auto tends to work, which causes condensation between the panes. And most auto windows just look very low to begin with. Our customers don't want it.
And what are renewable Anderson's windows made of?
Our windows are made of a thermal composite material called fiber. It's beautiful like this, but it doesn't require the panes. We engineered it to be kind of stronger environment. So you're getting a window that will really last.
Now this is innovation that features on your windows that allows for a better view.
Our system strips are made of an ultra-fine stainless steel pad, which is virtually invisible. Get less air buildup, more fresh air circulation, and better view of the roof.
Now, if you're talking about comfort, how much does the glass matter?
The glass in the window makes a huge difference. Our high-performance, low-floor smart sunglass is infused with silver oxide. It's engineered to help keep the cold air outside in the winter and keep the warm air inside. It also blocks 5% of the harmful UV rays that favor furniture and floor.
Well, that's impressive, Michael. Thank you. And right now, Renewable Anderson has a great offer for homeowners.
It's renewed by Anderson's 31-day sales event. Before March 31st, save $377 on every window and save $777 on every patio door and entry door with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 12 months. Our 31-day sales event ends March 31st. For a appointment during our city, call 1-800-704-4200. That's 1-800-704-4200.
Have you or anyone you know ever been stationed at Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune? Camp Lejeune's water was contaminated by fumes. If you had any water contact while at Camp Lejeune and been diagnosed with cancer or Parkinson's disease, you may be entitled to compensation. As a Marine who was stationed at Camp Lejeune myself for 4 years, this promise hits close to home. So if you've been stationed or visited Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune, have cancer or Parkinson's, visit camplejeune.com. More and more for the veterans.
When you die, are you going to heaven or not? You can know for sure. Heaven or not. .net.
Want to save money and get cash? Veteran home loaners is easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Call your pay and apply. 2. Take out an average of $70,000. 3. Pay off your credit cards.
Call 888-985-1671. I've never seen him do that, shout or swear in response to that. So, from my perspective, that particular report is not correct.
Okay, so the White House responding to these reports, explosive reports over the weekend that says that President Biden is, quote, angry and anxious about his re-election campaign as he faces a rematch with former President Trump. That came from NBC News. It reports that the president was, quote, seething at a private White House meeting in January. Quote, allies of the president had just told him that his poll numbers in Michigan and Georgia had dropped over his handling of the war between Israel and Hamas. Both their battleground states he narrowly won 4 years ago, and he can't afford any backsliding if he is to once again defeat Donald Trump. He began to shout and swear, says this report. A lawmaker familiar with the meeting said all of this. He believed he had been doing what's right side had, despite the political fallout he told the group, according to this lawmaker with regard to the Israel-Hamas situation. Now, the report also points out that President Biden's Gallup approval rating is now currently lower at this point in his term than the last three presidents who lost their re-election bids: Donald Trump, George H.W. Bush, and Jimmy Carter. So you can see that those are clearly troublesome numbers for him at this stage of the game as he heads towards his re-election effort. Let's bring in Outkick founder Clay Travis and Mark Penn, former Clinton advisor Pollster, now chairman and CEO of Stackwell, and chairman of Harris Court Retail. Both of you with us today. Mark, what do you make of these reports that he's getting testy and clearly very unhappy with his staff over his numbers and over their pushback, it sounds to me, to his Israel policy?
Well, first of all, when I worked with President Clinton, I would say he got angry and anxious over his poll numbers, particularly in the beginning when they were weak. So, I don't think that's anything unusual in that sense. I am concerned, however, that, look, when I look at the polls, only 2% for Israel is the #1 issue. People are concerned about immigration and inflation. I'm concerned that people will be using the polls to try to push his Israel policy, because it does look lately that more politics has been involved in that policy as he really...
Excellent. See how much we've done so far.
And of course, it doesn't look like it's traced to that meeting, which would be really unfortunate, because let's face it, the 100,000 non-convinced...
We'll catch you guys next time, alright? Peace out.